What's up, y'all? Danny Garcia, 37 wins, 21 KOs, and 3 losses. Beats Jose Benavidez Jr., 27 wins, 18 losses, 2 losses, 1 draw in Jose Benavidez. Now, this fight, man. First of all, excuse my coughing. My apologies. They almost tried to rob Danny Garcia. They almost tried to rob him. They almost tried to rob Danny Garcia in this fight. There was no way that Waleska Roldan had this fight 114. How was this fight a majority decision? This fight was not a 114 to 114 fight. Throughout the whole match, Danny Garcia was piecing Jose Benavidez up in Barclays Center in Brooklyn. They damn near try to rob this fighter. Like, what type of corruption is this nonsense? Bro, Jose Benavidez Jr. clearly is this fight. One of the worst parts about this fight was Jose Benavidez Jr. had the potential to win, right? He didn't throw any punches. He just kept saying, this doesn't hurt. I'm macho. This doesn't hurt. I'm macho. This doesn't hurt. I'm macho. And this doesn't hurt. I'm macho. And he would just stand in the middle of the ring when Danny Garcia was right there and just have his head guard up for his stomach to be opened. He would get knocked out in 1 round by Canelo, straight up. Why is your game keeping your body open with the head guard standing in the middle? I was just really frustrated watching this fight because he wasn't doing anything. There was a time to do that bait high guard stuff, like Canelo does it because he knows how to do that correctly. But Jose Benavidez was just doing that for basically no reason. He was trying to, I don't know what he was trying to execute. Was he trying to fight like a more patient, more tactical fight? Jose Benavidez Jr. could have won this fight if he just let his hands go more. It wasn't a situation where he was getting completely outboxed and outclassed. He just wasn't throwing enough punches. And barely throwing punches. He stopped sticking to a jab and just started going back to his high guard again. And did nothing. Like, looked terrible, man. Looked terrible. Then, then you see, like, in the middle of the fight, Tony Harrison looking happy as hell. Like, I'm gonna get a name on my resume. You see him, you even got the guy, the guy with like the voice thing, like the talking thing. Microphone. Freaking microphone, man. What is wrong with me? All right, you see him with the microphone, and Tony Harris is like, oh, he's coming to my division. He's coming to my division, Because this fight was already planned to be made. It's pre-planned if you beat Jose Benavidez. And since he did beat him, the fight is going to be made now. I am sure of it. First Sergio Garcia and now Danny Garcia. And from my perspective, I just feel like that's a great move for Tony Harrison if he's going to win this because it's a name, and it's a payday. Danny Garcia is a whole payday, man. He's a payday, a name, 147 and 140 champion in 2 divisions already. I feel like Tony Harrison's style is like, it's basically just going to be like Lamont Peterson versus Garcia, but Lamont Peterson was faster at that point and had the shorter reach. Because Lamont Peterson put a boxing lesson on fucking Danny Garcia. Lamont Peterson was actually fucking boxing like crazy. He was utilizing his range, pressure at times, just all around boxing skills in general, which is very fluent. And that's the exact same thing that's going to happen if he fights Harrison, because Harrison is a boxer. He's a boxer puncher. Or more of like a slick box. I would describe him as like a boxer puncher, yeah. I think Charlo is too. I just think Charlo is like an ambush fighter. I just started laughing when watching this fight because I just saw Harrison. I was like, oh my gosh, of course. Harrison looks so happy just to be fighting a guy with a small reach, just like a short height that he can just jab all 12 rounds to get an easy decision on a smaller little guy. I don't think that fight would even be an easy decision. I made the argument on many occasions, like Brian Perella would do something to Tony Harrison, so I wouldn't be surprised if you know, Danny Garcia came up to 154, but Brian Perilla has dimensions of a 154 fighter. That's the thing. And he had the evident speed advantage. He had the evidence. His fighting style really helped against Tony Harrison. And Brian Perilla is a long and rangy fighter. Long and rangy fighter. I feel like he'd even give Danny Garcia problems at 154 pounds. You know? What about Ugos at 150? You know what? I'm getting off topic, but if I compare both, like, Brian Perilla and Danny Garcia is a hooker. He doesn't really jab as fluently as a Brian Perilla. But Danny Garcia, I don't think he really has, like, the speed advantage. Danny Garcia is not the fastest fighter. I feel like Brian Perilla may even be faster than him at 154, to be honest. But Danny Garcia was looking sharp, but Jose Benavidez was looking very sharp too. Jose Benavidez, even on the pads, was looking like a really sharp puncher. He's a very sharp puncher, but he wasn't using any of that sharpness in his fight. Even though he throws very sharp and firm punches, like, he looked really sharp in this fight. And glimpses when he was throwing combinations and stuff and punching, like, he looked mad sharp. But he threw the fight away being inactive and staying in a high guard and exposing his stomach. Danny Garcia was landing body shots all night, man. But I still cannot believe they really try to rob Danny Garcia of this victory. What? Bro. The scorecard I really agree with is Tony Paolilo's at 117, 111. But everything else, man, what the hell? Ain't no way they gave this 114, 114. That's straight corruption in this sport. The worst part is, on the PBC highlights on YouTube, they had Jose Benavidez dominating Danny Garcia on the highlights, when clearly in the actual fight, Jose Benavidez was losing. So it seemed to me like they wanted Jose Benavidez Jr. to win this fight. But if he had 0 draws, maybe it would be more marketable. If he didn't have a draw, I would have been more likely to pick him. And probably it would have been easier to promote him if he didn't have a draw against that Francisco guy. But he did. But this is a good victory after coming off of a not very good fight, in 2020 against Errol Spence Jr. Then Danny Garcia had his little, like, speech and vocal about mental health and stuff after, just like Ryan Garcia too. And that was good, that was a breath of fresh air. Danny getting a little emotional post-fight interview and stuff. It's not very often you see that. You see him typically happy and smiling. And he was going through a lot of mental stuff throughout the 2020s, and now he's back and refurnished. But they gonna do him wrong fighting Tony Harrison. I understand that this fight is not gonna be, like, super, super easy. Like, Tony Harrison's not gonna beat Danny Garcia easy. Hell no. Danny Garcia is an elite fighter. But Harrison about to put that jab in his face, man. You gotta put that jab in his face, bro. That's all I gotta say about that. There are probably some other fighters that Benavidez, not Benavidez, but fucking Danny Garcia can fight in this division. Put this nigga against Fedora? That would be horrible. Yeah, Fedora would outwork him. Probably TKO his ass, to be honest. Brian Casano would outwork him. Magomed Kubranov is 50-50. I think he could beat Magomed Kubranov because he fights like a terrible Floyd impression. I think he can beat Liam Smith. I think he can. I think he could beat Liam Smith. I don't think it would be an easy fight. I think he'd win maybe by an actual majority decision, not this one. This fight was not a majority decision, but by an actual one. Erickson Lubin. Maybe. Maybe I would pick Erickson Lubin in that fight, though, personally. He can take the IBO title and beat Sam Ekington. He can beat Jesse Vargas. He can fight Terrell Garcia. I know he could beat Terrell Garcia. Goucher. That's how you pronounce it, right? Terrell Goucher. A fight that would make sense, in my opinion, would be like Luis Arias. A Luis Arias versus a Danny Garcia would be a pretty good scrap. I would pick Danny Garcia in that fight personally, but I wouldn't say it would be an easy fight either. I wouldn't say it would be an easy fight. Not a bit, not at all. But definitely a Luis Arias fight would be good. It just would just like really depend. It's just really good, you know. And not Jarrett Hurd. I don't know what's going on with Jarrett Hurd's career, but if he fought Jarrett Hurd would put the beats on him now. There are just like a lot of styles that go against Danny Garcia in the 154-pound division. Like there's a lot of high output fighters. Like if Danny Garcia was a slippery, short fighter who got on the inside, I would pick him against most of these dudes, but he isn't. He's a counterpuncher. It's a counterpuncher, waiting for you to counter. This is why I think he'd lose to Castano. Especially Castano. Especially him. Castano would outwork him to death. So, yeah. I hope they don't do Danny Garcia on the scorecards like this ever again, man. They probably will. But, you know, so Danny Garcia is typically the one who has won quote-unquote robberies, but now he's getting robbed. So, yep, that's disappointing. Let me know your opinions in the comment section about the situation. How did you guys feel about the fight? Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Thank you.